Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Shri Radhe, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Shri Radhe, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. On this on this 11th day of the month of April 2024, on the Chaturthi Gaurapaksha Vishnu Chaitra Mas 538 Gaurabda, we are speaking from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Trade of Impetus, chapter 24, the Subterranean Heavenly Planets. Text 18. Tato dastat sutale udara shava punya shloka virochanatmajo balir Bhagavata Mahendrasya Priyam Shikir Shamanen Labdakayo Bhutva Vatu Vamana Rupena Rakshipta Lokatrayo Bhagavat Anukampayaiva Puna Praveshita Indradishwa Vidyamanaya Susangridhaya Sriya Vijushta Swadharmena Radayang Stam Eva Bhagavantam Aradha Niyam Pagata Sada Sadwasa Aste Dunapi Tata Adastat beneath the planet known as Vitala, Sutale on the planet known as Sutala, Udara Shravaha very greatly celebrated, Punya Shlokaha very pious and advanced in spiritual consciousness, Virochana Atmajaha the son of Virochana, Balihi Bali Maharaj, Bhagavata by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maha Indrasya of the King of Heaven, Indra, Riyam the welfare, Shikar Shamanena desiring to perform, Aditehe from Aditi, Labdhakayaha having obtained his body, Bhutva appearing, Vatu Brahmachari, Vamana Rupena in the form of a dwarf, Parakshipta rested away, Lokatrayaha the three worlds, Bhagavat Anukampaya, by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. Punaha, again. Praveshitaha, caused to enter. Indra Adishu, even among the demigods, like the King of Heaven. Avidyamanaya, not existing. Susam Vidhaya, much enriched by such exalted opulence. Sriya, by good fortune. Abhijushtaha, being blessed. Swadharmena, by discharging devotional service. Aradhayan, worshipping. Tam, him. Eva, certainly. Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aradhaniyam, who is most worshipable. Abhagatas sadavasaha, without fear. Our stay remains. Aduna api, even today. Translation. Below the planet Vitala is another planet known as Sutala, where the great son of Maharaj Virochana, Bali Maharaj, who is celebrated as the most pious king, resides even now. For the welfare of Indra, the king of heaven, Lord Vishnu appeared in the form of a dwarf, Brahmachari, as a son of Aditi, and tricked Bali Maharaj by begging for only 3 paces of land, taking all the 3 worlds. Being very pleased with Bali Maharaj for giving all his possessions, the Lord returned his kingdom and made him richer than the opulent King Indra. Bali Maharaj engages in devotional service by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the planet of Sutala. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Uttama Shloka, he who is worshipped by the best of select verses. And his devotees, such as Bali Maharaj, are also worshipped by Punya Shloka, verses that increase one's piety. Bali Maharaj offered everything to the Lord, his wealth, his kingdom, and even his own body. Sarvatma Nivedane Balihi. The Lord appeared before Bali Maharaj as a Brahmana beggar, and Bali Maharaj gave him everything he had. However, Bali Maharaj did not become poor. By donating all his possessions to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became a successful devotee and got everything back again with the blessings of the Lord. Similarly, those contributions to expand the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement and to accomplish its objectives will never be losers. They will get their wealth back with the blessings. Those who collect contributions on behalf of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness should be very careful not to use even a farthing of the collection for any purpose other than the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shumate Bhaktivedanta Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. A planet known as Sutala, where the great son of Maharaj Virochana, Bali Maharaj, who is celebrated as the most pious king, resides even now. For the welfare of Indra, the king of heaven, Lord Vishnu appeared in the form of a dwarf brahmachari as a son of Aditi and tricked Bali Maharaj by begging for only 3 paces of land, but taking all the three worlds. Maharaj forgiving all his possessions, the Lord returned his kingdom and made him richer than the opulent King Indra. Even now, Bali Maharaj engages in devotional service by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the planet of Sutala. So we are hearing from Shukadev Goswami the wonderful benediction and the unparalleled opulence that can be obtained through worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna, worshipping Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune. So this Atma Nivedanam may seem on the outside that it's a great risk, that you will lose everything. You will give away your education. You won't be able to leverage your beauty. Uh, you won't be able to use your high birth. You may be a silver spoon baby with a trust fund. And so residing in an ISKCON temple, giving up all opulence, all comforts, what you were born into, may seem to be quite a waste. And your wealth. So coming before Radha Damodar or any other Ishta Deva deity that you may worship, signing away checks every month, giving away, donating 6,000 to rescue a cow and a calf. There might be giving money to the temple of the Vedic planetarium. So you might not reside in Mayapur, but you're signing away thousands of dollars. And so to your family members, to your spouse, it may seem like you're just putting in money into a black hole. You're not actually going to get anything in return. However, Sukadev Goswami, how Krishna, the characteristic of Krishna, how he's actually uh, Bhaktavatsala. He's a protector and well-wisher of his devotees, and how grateful Krishna is. Krishna, the characteristic of Krishna, being very grateful. Those who know of Krishna's gratefulness, they have no doubt that this path of Atmanivedanam, giving everything to the Supreme Lord, you are never a loser. You get everything. So in this section of the Bhagavatam, the subterranean heavenly planets, and Tarka Prabhu has been posing the question to various speakers, is there's a perennial question, is that how is it that the can indeed be more opulent than the demigods? It is understood that the Suras, the demigods, they are devotees. They are of Krishna, although they're on the mixed platform, mixed with, still they are actually practicing devotees. The demons, they are anti-devotee and anti-devotional service. They are against the worship of the Supreme Lord. So how is it that the demons are actually more opulent? Uh, it seems that this Atma Nivedanam, you don't actually get its benefit. So of your life, how is it that those who are giving more portions of their lives, the demigods, they are in a less opulent position? And really, that question, the answer is Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj is a great devotee. He's more surrendered, Indra. And Vamanadev is residing in this planet, Sutala. So that is a planet ruled by a devotee of the Lord. Mm. And when you actually trace out the history, why is it that a demon has appeared, an Asura, Bali Maharaj, he's appeared in the species of, but he's exhibiting greater devotional service than Indra and the other demigods. Mm. And so the origin of this whole history is the desire of the Lord. So you may recall that the progenitor of this dynasty, this Asuric dynasty, is Hiranyakashipu. In Hiranyakashipu, his ontological form is that he is Jaya, an intimate servitor of Lord Vishnu. And so Lord Vishnu, his desire is that he wanted to sport. He wanted to appear in the material world and have a good fight. And so the only persons that are able to actually give the Lord a good fight, in other words, match his power within the Leela so that the Lord can feel challenged. And then the Lord increases his opulence so that he can, and then the opponent is his own devotee. Only the devotee can actually match his power within the Leela. And so the Lord created a situation so that Jaya and Vijay could actually serve him in this way. They wanted to actually serve him in this way. And so they got cursed. Somehow they became bewildered and couldn't see the four Kumaras, how eligible they were to actually enter into planets. And so they got cursed. So, long story short, Hiranyakashipu appears. He bears a son who is a Mahabhagavat, Prahlad Maharaj. Uh, And the son then becomes the head of this dynasty of Asuric devotees. So Bali Maharaj, he then his son, Banasura, he then becomes a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and then his daughter. So the Banasura's grandchildren, they are then born of Aniruddha, who is a grandson of Krishna. So this dynasty is highly favored by the Supreme Lord, and all because of um, the desire of the Lord. But and that desire then manifested um, the appearance of the Mahabhagavat Prahlad Maharaj. So the devotees are always in a more opulent position. So devotional service always yields greater. So one is never a loser in devotional service because the Lord is very grateful. So the Lord seeking to please his devotee. So the devotee pleases the Lord, and the Lord feels so much of happiness in that love that he wishes to exchange. He wishes to reciprocate. He wishes to exchange that love with the devotee. And so he actually gives the devotee more than he could ever ask for. Another example of this is uh, Sudama Vipra. So this was a childhood friend of Lord Krishna, and he grew up with Krishna at the same school of Gurukul and at Sandipani Muni's Gurukul. And there, what happened was Krishna, young Krishna, and his friend Sudama Vipra were out in the forest collecting firewood, and all of a sudden, a great storm. Uh, we just had a flash rainfall. So even here, in this region, we've had like flash floods. So what this flash flood was nothing like it was actually a mini devastation. The wind was blowing very strongly. They were in the trees, young, you know, boys, uh, and they were very scared. It was cold. They're clutching each other. And then the guru, seeing that they're not coming back, he sent out other students, and he himself went. They went. Sent out a search party to look for Krishna and Sudama, and so they found them in this condition. And they still actually had the firewood, and they found them in this condition, clutching each other's hands, very cold, shivering. Uh, and uh, Sandipani Muni was so grateful that, oh, just see, uh, these two young boys, they have sacrificed, they have risked their own bodies, they have risked their own lives for my sake. Mm. And so Krishna is teaching actually how you serve the Supreme, the representative. And when you actually do that, it's not that Krishna do. He doesn't just say, yeah, that's your constitutional position. Um, I own all the three worlds. Anyway, so Bali Maharaj, yes, you've ascended, um, the King of Heaven, and now you have dominion over all three worlds. Uh, so your So the subterranean planets, yes, you have dominion over them through the dynastic rulership of the Asuras, but now you've ascended Swarga through various military conquest. And so now you seemingly own all three worlds, but actually they belong to me. So this is what Vamanadev could have said. Just as the predicament that Bali Maharaj was in is that when Vamanadev uh, manifesting his Mahima Siddhi, becoming bigger than the biggest, with one step he occupied uh, the upper planetary systems. And then with uh, the other step, he occupied the middle and lower planetary system. And so Bali Maharaj was about to be guilty of not fulfilling his vow to a Brahmana. So this was true. And so similarly, the Lord could have also said, ontologically, this land was never created by you. Yes, created all these 14 worlds, but he used the material of the lotus flower that sprouted out of his own navel. So the original material does not belong to you. It belongs to Garudakshay Vishnu, who's an expansion of uh, Vamanadev. So Vamanadev is the actual proprietor. So this is so if the Supreme Lord was like this, devotional service wouldn't be appealing at all. So you come here, wake up early in the morning, uh, and this okay, this is this is how you get power, and the Lord just says this is just what you're supposed to do. Without the Lord actually being grateful, without the Lord manifesting uh, how he actually feels, his own internal potency. Remember, when we say Krishna has these characteristics, he's clever, he's grateful, he's protective of his devotees. All these characteristics that are listed by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, this is his internal potency. So if that was not access to a world, if we didn't actually see Leela, then it actually wouldn't be devotional service wouldn't be appealing. This Atma Nivedanam wouldn't be accessible. Mm. So it's a great boon that the Lord actually comes and he performs these pastimes with these devotees in the material world. Um, so that we can be attracted. So even though um, and we are covered by material bodies and subtle bodies, and these actually there's mechanics. They're actually machines. This whole the subterranean heavenly planets is part of this great machine called the Shishumara planetary systems. How the different planets rotate. So it's a great machine. So if the Lord didn't actually perform Leela, then it would just be mechanistic. So the system of fruitive work as well, this is why it doesn't satisfy the heart in the ultimate sense, is because it's just mechanistic. Yes, you may feel some pleasure in acquiring opulences, but ultimately it doesn't satisfy you. And then come devotional service where you acquire opulence through rasa, through exchange of rasa, you actually satisfied. So when we hear about, for example, um, Sudama Vipra, when he visited Lord Krishna, so I described that, they were intimately united in friendship in childhood. And the Lord never forgot him. And Sudama also never forgot the Lord. And so when his wife requested, because they were really struggling financially, they couldn't get enough resources even to eat. They were emaciated. Um, and so the wife said, "We are really in a difficult position, my dear husband. And it is known to me and to everyone that you're a great friend of Krishna. And we have heard that Krishna, your great friend, is residing in a city that he constructed himself. So even though he grew up as a village cowherd boy, but he has become so opulent that he's residing in a designer city, Dwarka. And not only that, he's residing with 16,108 wives, for whom he constructed a palace for each of them. And he's residing with all of them. And can you please go and ask him something? We are struggling here. Just ask him for a little something so that we can not struggle this way. Um, and so Sudama was reluctant to actually approach his friend with this kind of attitude. But to satisfy his wife, he said, I'll go. So he went, and in the exchange, again, the whole exchange was out of love. The Lord uh, bathing his feet, and the queen's just very shocked to actually see Krishna behaving this way. And his principal queen, Rukmini, she came and uh, she personally fanned Sudama Vipra. Um, and and Krishna, knowing that the custom of the Brahmanas is always to adhere to the codes, but still Sudama is his friend and he knows he has something for him. And so he was asking him, my dear friend, what do you have? I know you brought me something. I can see on your waist belt you're carrying a little sachet. What is that? And the Lord grabs it. And Sudama, he was very reluctant to actually give this to the Lord. The Lord could understand. And so the Lord took this dry chipped rice, and for the Lord it was great nectar. He was tasting great nectar. And Rukmini, seeing this, when the Lord was about to eat another morsel, she put the Lord's hand and said, no, this is enough. So Rukmini can't bear to see Krishna having a low standard of just anything that's below standard. So she's her service is to always ensure, being an expansion of the goddess of fortune, she she maintains the high unparalleled standard of living of the Lord. And so she was like, no, you don't need to actually take any more. And so by that favor, then the reciprocation, it was Krishna's reciprocation, that I'm going to actually give him so much wealth because he gave me so much pleasure from this morsel of chipped rice. But the whole basis of all this feeling is feelings of friendship. And so when Sudama Vipra went back, he found a great transformation of his residence. Um, there were beautiful men and women singing and dancing, walking around. There was the landscaping that had been done was just quite extraordinary. There were lakes, there were animals, chirping of birds. And then when they saw that the Lord of the resident has actually returned, they gave him a wonderful greeting. And as he was approaching his palace, um, a woman came out of the palace, and he could see that this is my wife, but she's never looked this beautiful. So the wife was, her form had actually completely transformed, and she looked like a goddess of fortune. And so she, with tears in her eyes, she couldn't say anything to her husband. Um, and so Sudama Vipra was, when he actually got this opulence, much actually the resident was is described to actually had been greater than that of Indra, resident, that residence. And so he was always thinking how wonderful it is that Krishna, he is just so merciful and so kind. So, in other words, the acquisition of this opulence didn't inflame his false ego or pride. So, you can also remember that in the pastime, that the Lord was observing. So, these are some of the finer details that are giving. Was observing that Sudama had become attached to being a poor Brahmin. So, the designation of being a poor Brahmin. Uh, So, it provided some security for him, this designation, being poor and holding on to the status of a Brahmin. And so the Lord, wanting to actually dissolve that characteristic of that had embedded itself in his ego, he actually gave him so much opulence that he could never think himself a poor Brahmin. And so the only thing that was left was that he's a devotee of Krishna. In the same way with Bali Maharaj, when he actually received everything, he received the special benediction from Vamanadev that Vamanadev was actually going to be his doorkeeper, uh, the head of security of his kingdom. And in other parts of the universe, they have various systems of security, but they don't have personally the Lord Himself actually keeping everything safe. And so this characteristic of Bali Maharaj's kingdom, that's really the focal point. So before, he was this great Asura, descendant of Prahlad Maharaj, who had conquered all three worlds. So that was now this achievement. So when you achieve something really extraordinary, it embeds itself in it becomes a designation. Just like when you go to school and you get a degree, or you go through the rites of passage of life and you get married, you become a husband. So when you get a degree, you receive a title. You're a Bachelor of Science in uh, medicine, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. So, with all achievements, there is a designation uh, that accompanies it. And so, when you become a great conqueror, great military conqueror, then you get that designation that, oh, you're the chief of such and such a place. Now, he had become the emperor of the universe. So, if you've watched these space opera films, you'll hear there's different writings of the plot lines, and you hear about different emperors of the universe. So Bhagavatam is the actual history of the universe. So these different fictitious narratives, they're based on these itihasas, different histories. So Bali Maharaj had actually become the emperor of the universe. Um, but when he lost everything, uh, yeah, it seemed like he's a emperor who squandered everything. And then Vamanadev reciprocated with him that he reinstated his title as the emperor of the universe, and he was then the only emperor who his capital um, was so so yeah he reinstated his position, but in a way that was actually more opulent. So he reinstated Indra into the heavenly planets. So in one sense, his dominion reduced back to its original, which is here in this where they reside, and he awarded him the Sutala planet. But that special planet, was personally protected by the Supreme Lord himself, Vamanadev, which is actually more opulent because when you when you as a ruler, as a administrator, you're always trying to secure your kingdom. And so the best way to do this is through defense. Attack is known as the best form of defense. And so you try to actually conquer other places and subjugate them. So when you become the emperor, then it's understood that you have the most secure kingdom because your treasury, you have subordinate rulers paying tribute, you, they're paying your taxes, and um, you're able to, you, yeah, you get their soldiers, so your military is much larger. And so in this way, your kingdom is more secure. But there's a more secure position than that, than actually being the emperor of the universe. And that is ruling over planet that is personally protected by the Supreme Lord himself. When you read Mahabharat, you hear that the Lord actually has invincible weapons, even in the Krishna book. Um, there's one, oh, I forget the name of the weapon. Uh, it was in a battle with Banasur. Krishna was, they were fighting for trying to get Aniruddha back from Banasur, Sontipur, from Banasur's capital. And there's a weapon that Krishna released. And this weapon was, I think it was a cold weapon. And then another weapon actually that it was to counteract a weapon released by Lord Shiva. And this weapon was praying and was revealing in its prayer that this is actually the greatest weapon. It was just cooling everything down. And um, so when you have the Lord personally protect you, you have the greatest celestial weapons. So in Krishna, he's fighting with various, in his pastimes of Dwarka, when he's fighting with various rulers, kings. and even in his fight with Lord Shiva, you see how the command of celestial weapons that Krishna has. So similarly as well, with Vamanadev, his weapon was his big toe. This toe brought the Ganges. So it brought waters from the causal ocean, and it established the Ganges through the entire three worlds. This toe was able to conquer. Uh, the Lord manifested Mahima Siddhi and was able to actually conquer all three worlds. So just through Mahima Siddhi, it's unknown. There are yogis who have this Siddhi of becoming bigger than the biggest. But it's unknown that a yogi expanded himself to the point where he could just get instant emperorship, instant dominion over all three worlds. It's unknown. So only the Lord actually can do this. Um, just like even with Vritrasura, he had this Mahima Siddhi, and when he was fighting with Indra, he also expanded himself in a great big form. Similarly, even Kumbhakarna, Ravana's brother as well, when he was fighting with, um, Lord Ramachandra and the monkey army, he also expanded himself. But this Mahima Siddhi that they were expanding, they couldn't win the fight. Um, so it's not like when Vamanadev expanded himself that the demons couldn't resist. They could try to, but the thing is with the Lord's uh, the Lord's Mahima Siddhi, uh, it's very, very scary, very powerful, and all devouring. Just like when in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord reveals this Mahima Siddhi to Arjuna in the form of the Virat Rupa, the universal form, where Arjuna could actually see the Lord had millions of mouths, millions of heads, millions of arms. Fire was coming out of the mouths. The Lord had unlimited number of weapons in these hands. And so in in these mouths, all the warriors, all 500 plus million, were going in the mouths of the Lord. The Lord was crushing them. Some heads were stuck between his teeth. It was just like a very gruesome sight. So the Lord was showing that the battle's already won. So through this Mahima Siddhi, that is from the Yogeshwar, the master of all mystic power, this Mahima Siddhi cannot actually be conquered. Similarly, he has so many other weapons. So the point I'm making here is that when the Lord promises his protection, when he says, I'm actually going to personally protect you, your kingdom, your kingdom is in the most secure position. That's the point. And so with Bali Maharaj, when he secured the uh, when he secured this benediction from the Lord, then actually his kingdom, Sutala, is the most secure. So even if Indra, uh, he gets bewildered and may want to actually conquer over Sutala, he could never. Mare Krishna Rakeke, Rake Krishna Mareke. So in Krishna, uh, who wants to um, protect somebody, his determination never fails. And when he wants to kill somebody, his determination never fails. So Pali Maharaj, it is understood that he's actually more opulent than the emperor of the universe because his kingdom is more secure. So in our in our offering everything to the Lord, we should understand that the Lord will reciprocate to us in more ways than we can imagine. So Bali Maharaj could never imagine that he would actually be in a position more secure than having dominion over all three worlds simply by offering his head. Uh, so this offering of the head, we too can actually do it. We come before the Lord, we offer our obeisances. Uh, so you're offering your false ego. Uh, as the devotee was explaining in previous classes very nicely, that this namaha, aham, you're actually offering. You're saying naham, not the false ego, but me as a pure spirit soul. So this devotional service, it's all a process of saying naham. So sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratoina nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhakti uchate. That these upadis, I am black, I am white, I am I am a man, I am a woman, I am rich, I am poor. All these upadis, they attach to some object, right? So there's an object, the designation, then there's the object. And so Bali Maharaj, I'm the emperor. Oh my God, how could I actually give everything to the Lord? It's just unthinkable. So we also have the opportunity to offer these the objects that are attached to our various upadis. And so by engaging in devotional service, we offer those to the Lord. So you are working in a specific field and then you come to Gita Nagari. So you're offering the upadi. You use it in the devotional, in the service of the Lord. So that's an occupational duties. You have some kind of influence on people. So then you come before the Lord, you offer obeisances, and you give it to the Lord, and then you use that influence in the devotional service, in His service. Mm. So this is the great secret: is that you don't have to be born as a Mahabhagavat or be a descendant of a Mahabhagavat like Pali Maharaj to be able to engage in Atma Nivedanam. You simply have to come before the Lord and see what is it that is most dear to me that I should offer to the Lord. And you don't do it in one day, it's a whole process. There's an element of preparation, and then you actually uh, engage that specific upadi in the service of the Lord. And then, you begin to feel, oh yeah, it's actually going away. And then you become free from it. So you become free in that you can observe it in the machine of the body. You can see it. It's right there. It's still in the body. You have the ability to do that specific activity, or you've signed a check. You can see it in the hundi. You signed the check. Then you can also see the money being debited from your account. But you're just observing it and you're saying, yes, this all belongs to the Supreme Lord. So we can pray to Radha Damodar for inspiration, for strength, for clarity of mind. Um, Tomorrow is the appearance of, what is it? Appearance or disappearance? Appearance or disappearance of Ramanujacharya, who is a partial expansion of Vayu. Let's see. Yeah, the appearance of Sri Ramanujacharya, a great acharya in the line of the Society of Devotees, and we can pray to him for strength. So he exhibited a lot of strength. We can pray to him for strength, for taking strides, making progress in this Atma Nivedanam, or giving everything to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions, reflections, or contentions? Yes, iPhone, please speak.
Haribol, Prabhu.
Hare
So you
Krishna
made a very
Prabhu.
nice. Dhanavad, Dhanavad.
Dandavats
You
Pranam.
made
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol. So it's a very nice class. You made a very nice point about the determination also of the Lord. That if the Lord wants to kill someone, there's no way to stop it. And of course, if the Lord wants to protect someone, there's no way to kill them. So actually, Ram Janma is coming up very soon. And in the Uttarakhand of the Ramayana is a very nice description where Valmiki, when he wants to write the Ramayana, he makes an inquiry, who is that person who is existing now who has 16 qualities? Among them is Vrata, one who has great determination that never fails. So Brahma tells to Valmiki that person is Lord Ram. So Valmiki is very surprised because it's at that time that Sita Devi, with pregnant with Love and Kush, has been deposited at his ashram by Lakshman. So he's saying, you're trying to tell me that this person whose pregnant wife is now in my ashram, he's the person who has all the greatest 16 qualities. So then Brahma begins to go through the qualities, and he says, for instance, he's Dridavrat, because Valmiki named 16 qualities. And he said, for instance, when Sita and Ram were banished to the forest and they were approached by Shurpanakar and Lakshman disfigured her, then Ravan sent 14,000 Rakshasas in order to defeat Ram and to bring Sita back to Lanka. So, of course, it's described that Lakshman and Ram killed the Rakshasas, but Brahma tells to Valmiki he killed 13,999. One escaped. His name was Akampana. This Akampana was that Karuntra bird whom you saw one Nishad hunter kill in your
Mm.
presence. Because the first verse
Okay.
of Ramayana starts Ma
Yeah.
Nishada, etc. So he says that hunter was Lord Ram, whose determination to accomplish the task which he had started of killing those 14,000 Rakshasas was completed today when he came in the form of this hunter and killed that Karuntra bird, who was actually a Kampana hiding in the form of that bird. So now Valmiki is very amazed and he wants to hear more. So then Brahma begins to tell him about the other qualities of Sri Ram. And so then he's convinced and he says, well, how will I know? Because I didn't see many pastimes of Ram. He said, simply look in your palm. And when you look in your palm, by the mercy of Lord Ram, you'll see all of the previous pastimes which you did not know, and all of the other pastimes will appear in your heart. So this is one pastime showing that when the Lord wants to accomplish something like killing a demon, he's Dritavrata. His determination in that never fails.
Wow. Jai Prabhu. Thank you so much for that recitation. Yeah. Vrata Sri Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Are there any other contributions illustrating the various qualities of the Lord, how they encourage this Atma Nivedana so that we can feel inspired to give and give and give someone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I want to thank you for an exceptionally nice class. That was wonderful and inspirational. And for me, it really hits home. Um, and you also covered the wonderful pastime of Sudama Vipra and Krishna, which is one of my great favorites. Something that I derive a lot of inspiration from in my service, which entails making, contributions, monetary contributions, because at this stage of my life, I am unable to do the other types of service that I once did. And I'm actually I took a lot of encouragement from your class today because I actually am facing a dilemma. Um, His Holiness Devamrita Swami has asked me to fund a particular project, which very costly. And I experienced a great series of reverses in my service, losing colossal sums of Lakshmi. And so I promised that I would make this contribution, but if I do it, it would practically ruin me. It would wipe out all of my capital, and I would have, practically, nothing left and no way to make further Lakshmi. So um, it's it's a real pickle. Um, and I don't want to break my promise. So and I have struggled trying to taking unusual risks, trying to make Lakshmi enough to um, to be able to do this without getting myself into difficulty, and everything that I try to do has failed. Every time I try to do something to make Lakshmi, I wind up losing huge amounts of Lakshmi. Everything just gets worse and worse. It's been going on like this for months. Um, Massive sums of Lakshmi just slipping away. So anyway, I'm encouraged by this idea that um, you give everything to Krishna. You are never the loser. Srila Prabhupada reminds us regularly. You're not the loser, but I'm thinking, my God, if I do this, at least for this lifetime, I'm going to be ruined. But I'm encouraged that Krishna will somehow reciprocate and it will be worthwhile. So we'll see what happens. I was hoping to hear some comments from Mukunda Prabhu about the Sudama Vipra pastime, but I think he's already moved on. And wonderful pastime. But we're kind of out of time, aren't we? We're past 8 o'clock now. I wanted to read a little something from Srila Prabhupada, but maybe it's too late to do that. There is the term Punya Shloka, which is in this particular verse, it's defined as where is it now? Gosh. Can't find it immediately. Anyway, my point was that, here it is. Very pious and advanced in spiritual consciousness is how it's defined in the synonyms. Elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada has defined Punya Shloka as verses that increase one's piety, or also it can be a person, one who is glorified by such verses. And he further explains that um, Krishna is frequently referred to as Punya Shloka, but also his devotees are also referred to as Punya Shloka. And he speaks a lot about that in many different places. And I don't know if I should take the time, but maybe I can read this quickly. There's numerous places where he talks about this, but there was a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave in Mayapur in 1974, and he had just returned from Malaysia, The city in particular that he was in was Kuala Lumpur. So he says, we had been in Kuala Lumpur. Now instead of sandalwood, because Malaysia was once known for production of sandalwood, he said instead of sandalwood, they are growing um, rubber wood, for tires. He said, yes. So formerly Malaya Chandan, Malaysian Chandan sandalwood was very famous. Still it is famous. So this Chandan tree can grow anywhere, but it is famous as Malayan Chandan. Similarly, Krishna can appear from anywhere. He is independent, but he appeared as the descendant of the Yadu dynasty. Why? Yado Priyasya Punya Shloka Kirtaye. Those who are devotee, they are Punya Shloka, or Krishna is also Punya Shloka, Uttama Shloka. Krishna is another name. As Krishna is known as Uttama Shloka, similarly the devotees are called Punya Shloka. How they become Punya Shloka? Simply by hearing about Krishna, as we are doing now. Shunibatam Svakata Krishna, Punya Shloka Kirtana. Srila Prabhupada says, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. He goes on to say, anyone who is always in contact with Krishna, he's Punya Shloka. And Krishna is Uttama Shloka. Uttama Shloke Bhagavati Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So these are the, Srila Prabhupada says, these are the terms used in the Shastras. As Krishna is Uttama Shloka, similarly a devotee is Punya Shloka. As the devotee worships Krishna with selected poems, Uttama Shloka, they are not ordinary poems. Chintamani Prakarasadmatsu Kalpa Vriksha Laksha Briteshu Surabhira Vipalayantam. These are not ordinary verses. These are transcendental verses. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Krishna is worshipped by transcendental verses, transcendental language, Vedic language. That is transcendental language. Therefore, it is called Uttama Shloka. So Punya Shloka, when he's advanced, he can worship the Uttama Shloka. Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam, daily, regular. So as you are daily hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, so if you go on, then Nasta Paraya, everything, all dirty things within your heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And then he quotes Shikshastikam, let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, who can cleanse the mirror of the heart, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives cooling effect to everyone and enables one to taste full nectar at every step. He goes on to say, this is the process of cleansing the mirror of the heart. Mirror, when it is, it will be all cleansed. Then you become Punya Shloka. Punya Shloka, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Shrinbatam Svakata Krishna, Nityam, Punya Shloka, Kirtana. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment for the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted, simply by hearing. So we are inviting everyone to become Punya Shloka simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no come here, take prasad, chant Hare Krishna, dance in jubilation, become Punya Shloka. And Krishna, you'll become very dear to Krishna. This is perfection of life. Thank you very much. That's the end of his lecture. All right, Prabhu, thank you again. Very well done. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for demonstrating how to become Punya Shloka with the predicament you face. I wasn't trying to give you financial advice while lecturing on this verse, but yeah, Well, Damodar, I'm sure I'll pray to Damodar that he helps you figure this conundrum out. Yeah. Thank you so much for that quote as well. Yeah, it was basically added more weight to this class because, yeah, you gave more references. So thank you. Any other? Okay, let's see. We have appreciation from Yashodev Prabhu. He said he loved the description of Lord Vamana's toe being a weapon. And appreciation from Mother Jambavati. Okay, dear devotees, we are out of time. Thank you so much for attending this class, and may you all be similarly inspired, just as Thakur Prabhu is inspired. May we all be similarly inspired to take more steps in Atmanivedanam, giving everything to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Haribol. Krishna Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda